Wisconsin.
Mr. President, last December, the World Health Assembly established an intergovernmental negotiating body to draft a new convention on pandemic prevention and preparedness. At its fourth meeting last month, the negotiating body accepted a draft of this new convention that would give the World Health Organization broad new powers in managing future pandemics. If accepted, it would cement the World Health Organization at the center of a global system for managing future pandemics, and it would erode U.S. sovereignty. Let me just list a few of the examples of some of the provisions of this draft, I'll call it a treaty. Currently, it would require a substantial new U.S. financial commitment to an international body without a proportional voting power. It would require the U.S. to give the World Health Organization 20% of vaccines and other pandemic-related products produced during future pandemics. It includes a heavy emphasis on the transfer of intellectual property rights to the World Health Organization. It gives the World Health Organization a leading role in fighting misinformation and disinformation, and as the Twitter files reveal, that leads to censorship and the suppression and abridging of freedom of speech. It also promotes a global One Health approach to health care, including harmonizing regulation under WHO guidance. The WHO has not earned this power, far from it. At a critical moment in late 2019 and early 2020, the WHO utterly failed to detect the emerging COVID-19 pandemic and delayed informing its member states. Instead, it was kowtowing to Beijing. And unfortunately, there are indications that the Biden administration is considering joining this new convention by executive agreement and avoiding the Senate. We should not let this happen. An agreement of such magnitude needs to be submitted to the Senate for advice and consent. This is not a partisan issue. This is about reclaiming the Senate's prerogatives on international agreements. So, Mr. President, I call up my amendment number 11 and ask that it be reported by number.
The clerk will report the amendment by number.
The senator from Wisconsin, Mr. Johnson, proposes an amendment numbered 11.
So, Mr. President, this amendment is very simple. It declares any pandemic convention produced by the intergovernmental negotiating body to be a treaty requiring Senate advice and consent. I had a similar amendment on the Iranian agreement a few years ago. It is far past time that the members of this body reclaim our constitutional authority at ratifying these incredibly serious treaties and no longer allow the administration to go ahead and negotiate agreements that can have a dramatic impact on our sovereignty and bypass the Senate entirely. So again, very simple amendment. It would deem any agreement a treaty and require that it be ratified by the Senate, and I urge all my colleagues to support my amendment.
Mr. President.
Senator from Virginia.
Mr. President, I rise in opposition to the amendment, not because my colleague from Wisconsin is completely wrong about the need for WHO accountability. Many of the facts he stated are facts that are troubling. But the bill that is on the floor is a bill to repeal the Iraq war authorizations of 1991 and 2002. The bill has nothing to do with global health or the WHO. The Senate has not repealed a war authorization since 1971, 52 years. This is a historic debate. When we authorized the wars in Iraq, the Gulf War and the invasion of 2003, we did it in authorizations that didn't include extraneous amendments. The Senate deemed these important enough that other matters, even if they were important, were not added on to the declarations of war. I strongly believe we should take up this repeal, keep it limited precisely to the question on the floor, should we repeal the Iraq war authorizations, and not add in extraneous matter, even if that matter has some merit. And for that reason, I would ask my colleagues to vote against the amendment.
Mr. President, quick response.
Senator from Wisconsin.
There's nothing in my amendment that would harm what the senator from Virginia trying to accomplish in terms of repealing the authorization for use of military force. So my amendment can be accepted and have no impact whatsoever on the legislation before the floor, before the body. Thank you.
The question occurs on amendment number 11. Is there sufficient second? There appears to be. Clerk will call the roll.